Hey everyone, welcome back to EdgeToEquity. And today I want to go over my previous performance with my Topstep account. And unfortunately, I did fail the account. And it wasn't because my trading bot was bad. It actually was working. I failed because I underestimated how much variance, contract sizing, and discipline matter in trading combines. And if you ever try to prop firm challenge yourself, you know exactly what I'm talking about and how the rules can be unforgiving and against you and your performance. So let me show you exactly how my performance played out. So over 49 days, I took about 120 trades in total. My balance ranged from 49,946 all the way up to around 52,038. And unfortunately, I ended at 50,124. So technically, I did not blow the account officially, but since I'm only up $124 in profit and the initial drawdown raised up to 50,000, I feel it's just best to reset the account. So the goal for me for a $50,000 account is to get 3K in profit, and then your max drawdown is around 2K. And my win rate actually averaged around 55%. And what's crazy is at one point, I was as high as 64% win rate when I was actually trading just micros. On paper, it looks like a 50K account, but in reality, you're only managing a razor thin $2,000 buffer. One mistake or over leverage and you're out. And I think there's a lot of positives because I survived for over 49 trading days. And then also my winning day percentage was at 67%. So essentially almost 7 out of 10 days were winning days. So that's something that I could look at, and there's some positives behind that. And then also my win rate being at 55% finishing, I think that's still pretty solid. There is a lot of room for improvement, and there's also a lot of positives. So now before I break down what went wrong, here's the high-level approach I was taking. So I'll give you a high-level overview of my approach. I want to keep my trading strategy very simple. So I only trade in the morning session, and I only limit the trading bot to 2 trades per day. And the trading bot focuses on momentum and volatility. And my bot also enforces fixed stops and fixed targets on every single trade. So for me, the key is consistency. I want to implement the same size, the same rules, with no emotion attached to each trade. And also what's helped me out in this trading journey is automation. It enforces discipline with my trading strategy. But here's the truth. Even with a clear approach, my execution had flaws. So here's what went wrong. First, I was very inconsistent with my contract sizing. When I first started, I would only use maybe 2 to 3 micro contracts. And then finally, I settled on 5 micro contracts. And this is where my win rate actually peaked around 64%. But then I got very impatient. I was already well into probably 30 trading days in total. And then I decided to switch to 1 mini contract. And as you can see, this made my equity curve very unstable. So essentially it did not help. And then second, my average win and loss were basically equal. So at 1-to-1 risk to reward, I needed at least 51% just to break even. And then third, variance hit me very hard. There was a couple negative $600 days, especially towards the end of my Topstep combine, that erased weeks of progress that I made, and that was devastating. And that brings us to the heart of it, the math behind my risk and reward. Let's go over my per trade math. So with 5 micros, my risk again was about $156 for a $187 reward. With 1 mini, risk was about $312 for a $375 reward. That's only slightly better than break even. And this stretched over 100 plus trades. So those very small differences decide whether you pass or you fail. So to understand why this matters so much, let's talk about variance. So variance is just luck in the short run. So take for instance a coin flip. You flip a coin 10 times, you might get 7 heads, or you might get 8 tails and 2 heads. Flip it 100 times and it's closer to 50-50. Trading works the same way. Your edge does not appear in a handful of trades. It plays out over the long run and over a large sample size. So what does variance look like in my actual challenge? Let's run the simulations. So let's take a look at the Monte Carlo simulation. And here's what the math says based on my actual stats. So with one mini, I had about a 91% chance of passing before hitting the negative 2K drawdown. And it usually happened in about 41 trades. And with 5 or 6 micros, the odds were even better. 95 to 96% pass rates, but it will take about 70 to 80 trades on average. Now here's the planned scenario that I'm going to implement going forward. So I'm going to target a true 1 to 1.5 risk to reward, which usually nets to about 1 to 1.4 to 1 to 1.47 risk to reward after fees. So at the same 55% win rate that I finished with this account, pass rates will jump up to around 94 to 99%, and the path to target is much smoother. And this is where my trading psychology comes into play, because the numbers only matter if you can actually execute the plan every single time. Like we mentioned before, if you can keep the same size, if you can keep the same rules in place and not deviate and be very disciplined, then the numbers will play in your favor. So to tie all this in, I like to look at the Mark Douglas lessons, especially from Trading in the Zone. And this all reinforces what Mark Douglas taught in that book, that every day is unique. Don't expect the market to repeat with the same patterns that you might have seen the day before or last week. And also to think in probabilities, not certainties. Your edge only plays out over a large sample size. So with every day being unique, you can't focus on each individual day and judge your trading strategy based off how it performed in one day. You need a large sample size of trades to be able to determine if your trading strategy is actually profitable or not. And I think the most important is you need to execute your plan the same way every single day. Do not deviate from your plan, even if it's as simple as changing your contract sizing. And this leads to the lessons I'm carrying forward into my next attempt. So let's go over the lessons learned recap. So win rate isn't everything. Risk to reward and variance matter more. And the 50K account, as you all know, is really only a $2,000 buffer. So you need to size accordingly. Make sure that your contract sizing is on point for how much you want to risk. And contract size inconsistency will kill your combine and your performance. An aggressive sizing might work in evaluation, but once you're funded, the goal shifts to stability. So you need to look at being way more conservative if you want to keep your account in place. And that brings me to what's next. So this time I did not pass, but I am making adjustments. And those adjustments include higher risk to reward, and then also making sure that I remain consistent with my sizing on every single trade. And this way it gives me a much smarter risk approach to the $2,000 buffer. And that's exactly why I'm building EdgeToEquity, because I want to give traders like you guys the ability to automate your strategy, remove the emotion completely from each trade, and to also survive variance as well. So if you guys found this helpful, please hit that subscribe button and continue to follow the EdgeToEquity journey, and watch me build the tools that will help you guys out as traders to be able to master yourself and not just the market. I thank you guys for watching, Take care and God bless.